You know what this is? This is the garter that my wife wore on our wedding day. And that's a day I'll never forget. It's been a few years, but I'll never forget that moment when the doors opened and she emerged walking down the aisle at First Baptist Church in Longview, Texas. She's beautiful, but took my breath away on our wedding day. And that's how John describes heaven. It's so beautiful. To what can he compare it? He compares it to a bride. In Revelation chapter 21, we get a glimpse into our heavenly home. And this is how he starts. In verse 2, he says, I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. He's talking about our heavenly home. How beautiful will it be? He thought to himself of the most beautiful thing that earth has to offer. He thought of a bride on her wedding day. You know, grooms, they just kind of say, yeah, what time do I have to be at the church? You'd be lucky if I take a bath. But not a bride. And she's beautiful because she's been primping in front of the mirror. Someone's doing her hair and her makeup. And I mean, she's getting ready all day. That's what we just read, as a bride adorned for her husband. Earth is beautiful. It really is. But think about heaven. God's been preparing heaven for you and me for an eternity. Heaven is a bride that's been primping in front of the mirror for thousands of years. Can you imagine the beauty? In verse 3, he continues by saying, I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is among men, and he will dwell among them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be among them. As beautiful as heaven is, what makes heaven heavenly is that God is there. He shall dwell among them. Heaven is a place where we have fellowship with God. We're able to see Jesus face to face. And then he begins to describe how amazing heaven will be by telling us all of the unhappy things that won't be there. In verse 4 it says, He shall wipe every tear from their eyes. The same hands that created the universe, that formed this world, that raised up the mountains and scooped out the valleys, those hands will touch your cheek and brush away any tears. Because heaven is a happy place. It's a joyful place. In verse 4, he says, there'll no longer be any death. Can you imagine a world with no more funerals, no more cemeteries, no more hearses, no more black dresses, no more tears shed onto cemetery grass? Heaven is that kind of place. There's no more death. Verse 4 says there'll be no more mourning, no more crying, no more pain. Some of you are in chronic pain from a health crisis. Others have emotional pain. Heaven is a place where pain no longer exists. And then in the midst of all of these happy, wonderful thoughts, there's a reminder in verse 8 that not everyone goes to heaven. Verse 8 says, but for the cowardly and the unbelieving, for murderers, immoral persons, sorcerers, idolaters, liars, their part will be in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone. This is the second death. So in the midst of our description of heaven, we're reminded about all the people that will not be there. He calls it the second death. Well, if you're a Christian, you've been born again. If you're a Christian, you've been born twice. Think about it like this. If you're born twice, you'll just die once. Then you'll be in heaven. If you've only been born once, then you'll die twice. And the second death is not a physical death. It is a spiritual death and a punishment in a place called hell. And so in the midst of this amazing description of heaven, we are reminded that everyone won't be going there. And the description is longer than I have time to share on a Devo, but you see more of the beauty. Picking up in verse 19, he talks about the foundation stones of this city are adorned with every kind of precious stone. I had a house where the foundation was visible, so we planted boxwoods. We planted different red-tipped phatinas. We had these bushes we planted so you could not see the foundation. In heaven, God says, you don't need to plant any bushes because I'm covering the foundation with precious stones. And he mentions jasper, sapphire, emerald, sardonyx, sardius, chrysolite, beryl, amethyst. Stones you might like to see in a ring if you're a lady, but these adorn the foundation of heaven. And then there's 12 gates. The 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each one of the gates was a single pearl. You've heard about the pearly gates. Maybe you imagined a gate made of many pearls. No. Each gate was made of one gigantic, massive pearl. Must have been some oyster. And the street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. You've heard of the pearly gates, also the streets of gold, but something about this gold had a transparency to it. And I saw no temple in it, for the Lord God, the Almighty, and the Lamb are its temple. And the city has no need of the sun or the moon to shine upon it, for the glory of God, illuminated it, and the lamp is the Lamb. And in the daytime, for there shall be no nighttime there, its gates will never be closed. In heaven there's no sun, there's no moon, there's no nighttime, because he who was the light of the world, Jesus Christ, will be the light of heaven also, and the glory of God will fill the place. And the chapter concludes by saying, only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. Heaven is a prepared place for prepared people. If you have trusted Jesus, if you've been born again, then heaven will be your home. Your name is recorded in the book of life. And the beauty of that place is beyond John's ability to describe. He thought of the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen on earth, and he said, it's like a bride on her wedding day. But even that hardly will come to compare or describe what is waiting for us one day. So be faithful to God, serve him well today, and remember, this world, beautiful as it is not our home. We've got a better home waiting for us one day. Bless you. And tomorrow we'll finish the book of Revelation with chapter 22.